I'm not going to lie to you. I'm still a little bit confused by Mamelodi Sundowns and its play. Because Mamelodi Sundowns was the better team on that pitch. They have the better players. Towards the end of that game, when it started opening up, you could tell that there's a difference in quality. But some of the decisions that Sundowns made AS FAR Rabat look so much better. And I want to give credit to AS FAR Rabat because they gave a lot of effort. They gave a lot of effort. They're running, they're pressing, they're chasing, they're physical, they did everything in their power to try and make that game as hard as possible. Now, you could argue that they are the home team and that is how the home team is meant to play. You could argue that they are a smaller team in CAF Champions League terms who are playing versus one of the bigger teams in the CAF Champions League. So maybe even that gives you, man, a little bit more power to go run. But all that hard work may have closed the gap and made the game closer. But I think Mamelodi Sundowns is still suffering from their own problems. Tactically, the things that they're doing don't make sense. Let's start with the back. You're trying to play the ball out from the back. But simultaneously, while you're trying to play the ball out from the back, as you normally do with Williams, everybody's gone wide. Obas is wide, he's hugging the line. Allender's hugging the line. You know that then these two defenders can't play the ball to the level that you want them to play the ball. That is why Kutsia was so important last year. So now you're even struggling to do the thing that you guys were so strong at because everybody's so far apart. And nobody's taking the responsibility of playing that ball up, of carrying the ball up, of becoming that option that takes the ball up. So at the same time, you have all of the Sundowns players there, but there's so many big spaces because they're all hiding. And I think AS FAR studied Mamelodi Sundowns in that regard and made sure that they could press. They were setting pressing traps where they were winning the ball back quite efficiently. And they were putting that Sundowns defense under pressure. So you start off there. That is why Abo Libusa were having a tough time. Because that team was winning it up high and hitting them immediately on the counter. You have Aubrey, who now you have to start questioning. Is he the best left back in the country? Or is he one of the best players that starts from left back? So he's an inverting midfielder. But when called upon in when called upon to do defensive things, he's often found wanting. The cross came from his side. You can see twice he was part of the problem for the red card. You go to the middle, and you have three of the most capable midfielders in African football. You have Obas, who is an incredible 6. He's grown in leaps and bounds. You have Mokwena, who's a 6'8", not necessarily the cleanest player in terms of playing the ball, but he usually keeps the game very simple, and he does the dirty work for that midfield. And you have Allender. I still believe in that Sundowns team right now, possibly the best receiver of the ball, the best passer of the ball, the best in tight spaces. But for some reason, you find Allender, the best receiver and passer of the ball, playing on the wing. And then you find Obas, the best 6 in the game, also playing out wide. And then you find Mokwena, somebody who made a name for himself playing simply, now trying to take the ball and run with the ball and take on players and do all of that stuff. There's no order in that midfield. There's no order. And because now there's nobody in the middle who can receive that ball and get it, you're watching Ribeiro drop far too deep. And when Ribeiro drops far too deep, he becomes selfish. He thinks he can do anything. In this game, he kept getting the ball and he kept running. He was trying to outrun the midfield. And he was losing the ball every single time. He lost so many balls because he's now playing as an 8. He's now dropping back in 9. And when he drops back in, Reyners feels as though he needs to pick up that 10 position or at least drop inside. And Reyners is not a player that can trap and pass to the high level of tiki-taka or Shushan and piano. He's one thing that he has is pace and finishing. But now he's paired with a Shalulile, who I don't know what Shalulile's role in this team is meant to be. I don't know what it's meant to be, because he doesn't give you the width, that cutting width that Matthews gives you. Him being central kind of displaces Ribeiro, because Ribeiro doesn't have the ability to just come inside and play almost with two strikers ahead of him. Instead of three people, two strikers ahead of him, right? And pick those passes. So there's a lot of little niggling weaknesses. Mamelodi Sundowns goes wide, but they don't complete an action in going wide. And what I mean by completing an action is when you get to the byline, when you're playing a helicopter type football, you cross the ball, or you cut it back, or somebody gets a shot. And we're seeing another game in that first half where Sundowns had no shots, no chances created out of all of this that is happening. Sorry to interrupt the video that I'm sure you're enjoying, but I just wanted to say thank you for all of the support that you guys have shown me and my Overthinking Football platform. I'm a one-man band that's doing all of this, and I really do enjoy the comments about how, you know, Supersport needs to come fetch me and SABC and all of that stuff. And I think it speaks to the quality of the content, but also the amount of effort that I put in. So I just wanted to say thank you. But the truth is that Abu Supersport and all of those guys, yes, we're competing with them, but it's a completely different place. The sponsors are looking for former players, and to be honest with you, running some of these things is getting so difficult, and things have changed at home. So financially, it's a whole different world. So I wanted to try something new and come to the overthinkers, the people who watch the content, and say it would be incredible if you guys could contribute monthly towards the platform, towards keeping my lights on, but also making sure that all of the crazy things that I want to do, that I want to take Supersport on with, I can actually do. And just for 20 Rand every month, I think that would be an incredible contribution if you can make it. It may sound like a little, but if we can get a lot of people behind it, then we'll be able to carry on doing what I do. I'll be able to carry on giving you the content and also expanding it, because we don't have shows like this, and us content creators need help from our audiences. So I just came here to ask you if you can. Here is the account number that you guys can use in order to contribute. And I think, yeah, I'd be very grateful if you would. But anyway, let's get back to the video. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. The second half did look a lot better, I'm not going to lie. Towards the end of the second half, like from the middle of the second half onwards, we saw Allende come inside. They took off Ribeiro. Mabue came onto the pitch. They started actually passing the ball to each other, actually building the ball and doing those type of things. They looked like a far better Mamelodi Sundowns. And even the goal came from what we all know. Give Reyners a counter-attacking opportunity. Yes, the defender slipped, but give Reyners the ball. Play the ball up as quickly as possible, so that you can have Reyners facing the defense and have his pure pace take them on, whether it be the way he scored today or him coming in behind. You cannot allow a team to get back into a low block or to get back into a mid block by the time you decide to get the ball up. So all of these things are linked. They can't play it out from the back. They're not as comfortable as with holding the ball and sucking the other team in, which then in turn means that they're not getting enough balls up into their attacking players so that you can take advantage of the counter-attack. Now, AS Farabad, for all of the effort that they gave, and I give them 100% credit for the effort that they gave, they're just not that good of a team at this level. And what Sundowns showed towards the end was, number one, you cannot be all effort for 90 minutes. So they started showing cracks towards the end of that game, right? And number two, if you're not that good, they will carve you open. And Sundowns maybe could have done something. No, Keeper Wabo was a little bit suspect, too far off the line. Reyners almost chipped him twice. Maybe he needs to stay on his line a little bit. But I think the two things that I want to speak about here is, I think, Sundowns lacks effort. For whatever reason, it doesn't feel like the players want to play. It doesn't feel like the players want to do. It almost feels like, man, Baba forced Tile to go there. And it's a mixture of that, but also this arrogance, you know. They kept playing the ball back. They kept, like, you know, with this useless possession that they were playing with. But it feels like they were too calm for a team that doesn't have an attempt. I feel as though there's a discipline that's lacking at Mamelodi Sundowns. Say what you will about Coach Rulani's system, but that system protected players, number one, because your weaknesses were looked after. Or two defenders, two centre backs, you can't play the ball out. You're not as comfortable with Vala and Libusa. You're not as comfortable with playing the ball up, right? Or whoever it is at the back. Okay, Kana was in this boat. We're going to bring Kutsia to come and fetch the ball. And Kutsia will fetch the ball, turn around and play the ball up. Oh, Mudiba, you're not comfortable in left back. Fine. You're going to invert, but then because Kutsia is awake, we're going to play a back three most of the time when we're getting attacked. So there'll be somebody who's going to cover you on your side. Allende, you are the best passer, but you're not very good in winning balls back and being defensive like that. We're going to have Debza and Kutsia cover you guys. Debza, we're not going to ask you to do too much. There's a discipline, a tactical discipline and positional discipline that is missing at Mamelodi Sundowns. And it feels as though it's that thing, Yoguti, we are all really good. So, hey man, we don't need to be coached. We can do our own thing. We can run and free roam and do all of that stuff. And that creates so much instability there in the middle. Because this is not the football that Coach Mangoba was talking about. This is not the football that Mamelodi Sundowns was successful with even under Coach Mangoba this season up to this point. But you have to give benefit of the doubt. They went away. Even with all of that dysfunction, they were still able to come home with a point from the north, which is a place where they usually struggle. They went through waves and waves of this ASFAR pressing them and pushing them and trying to put them under pressure, and lived to live to tell the tale afterwards. They lived past that game. But there's so many things that Coach Mangoba will need to fix. And these things are going to hurt them. Luckily, Maniema Union drew versus Raja Casablanca. So at least the group is still open. It's not yet alarm bells ringing. There's also the little factor of crosses, man. Mamelodi Sundowns struggles with crosses, and maybe that is their weakness. We saw what Makesi did to them. We saw how the goal came in now. Williams is not comfortable with coming for balls or going to go fetch the balls or, you know, leaving his line. So that's something we're going to have to look at. All in all, I think my disappointment with Sundowns over the past few games has been the amount of effort. And I don't know if it's a system problem, more of a system problem or more of them not rating the coach. I don't think they rate the coach, Coach Mangoba. And you can tell with the way that they play, you can tell with his press conferences where he speaks about how they're not doing what he wants them to do. I think some of the players may feel like they're bigger than the coach and bigger than the team, because you can tell by the way that they play. There's so many heroes on the Mamelodi Sundowns team. A lot of people that want to do things by themselves and run by themselves and carry the ball and do all of that, when you really need those guys to be a team. And I think that was the strength of Coach Rulani's system. For however good those players were, they knew their roles and they played their roles. So maybe Coach Mangoba needs to adopt some of that. I know that he comes from a school of thought where the players, you can allow your players to come out on the pitch and do what they need to do. They're going to adapt, they're going to talk, they're going to know what they're doing. You know that when you have a midfielder, you've got a midfielder that ticks all boxes. You know, they can defend to a certain degree, they can play the ball to a certain degree, they're comfortable with the ball, they can tackle and do all of those things. Those hybrid players from back in the day. But now you've got highly specialized players in this team, and maybe you also need to be highly specialized with them. Obas, do not leave the center of the field. You are the 6. Do not leave the center. If we're looking for width, we'll gain width through Reyners, we'll gain width through Shalulile, we'll gain width through the Mudiba and Mudau. But you guys need to be set there. Tebza, your job is not to carry the ball and be the star player. Your job is to play simply, to allow Allender to take that role of playing the ball out, of being the leader there in the middle in terms of the passing of the ball. He should be the guy who runs that, not Utebza. Manqoba, I don't know how many times these things are going to come back to haunt you. Hopefully you can fix it. But I think there are really big problems at Sundowns that can be exploited. But his biggest thing is that he has to get these players on side and they need to give more effort. Effort is the name of the game. Effort is the reason why AS FAR looks so good versus Sundowns. It's not because AS FAR is a good team. They just gave a little bit more. But like I said, it's in a way point. You come home with a point. You've played twice. You've got 2 points in the group. Now it's crunch time. They're going to need to go and win these things. So let's see how it's going to pan out. I'll see you guys then on the next one.